Welcome to All In for Estacada Schools. We'll be taking an in-depth look into the work, the data, the wins, and the fun that's happening every day in the Estacada School District. And now, your host, Superintendent Ryan Carpenter.
Hey, good evening, Estacada families. Welcome again to Facebook Live. Thanks so much for spending your evening with us. As you'll notice, we're here live at 7 o'clock p.m. today. This is a change focused on trying to reach out to our families who we know are busy at work from our traditional Facebook Lives at 4 o'clock p.m. We do hope that this time slot allows more opportunities for our hardworking families to be a part of this All In for Estacada Schools Live on Facebook. And we are so excited to continue to foster a two-way conversation between our families and our school district as we make very big and important decisions that affects the experience of our students, our employees, and our community whose schools we're so proud to represent. If you'll recall, we had 249 people who watched Facebook Live 2 weeks ago. We're so thankful to have over 240 people be a part of a very important conversation about what we're doing with federal ESSER funds, as well as getting a turf field update. So again, as we make an effort to be as transparent as we possibly can about the monies that we receive and how we invest those monies into students, into safety and security protocols, and into upgrading our facilities to make it the greatest experience possible. I just want to thank those families who not only watched live, but also participated in our two-way conversation together. So not only could we address concerns and questions, but then we can count on you to take that conversation and spread that out to our community as well. So you're on our team telling our story together. So we're so grateful for your participation. We truly are all in for Estacada Schools. Today is another very important All In Live on Facebook as we talk about this upcoming graduation ceremony in conjunction with a lot of great things that are happening, like a stadium upgrade and other important topics that we need to discuss that could potentially affect that graduation ceremony. I'm so lucky today to be joined by high school principal Amy Hudson, who's going to be a part of our Facebook Live as well tonight to not only talk about our graduation plans and what that looks like for our graduating senior class and their families, but also just the opportunity to address questions that might be coming from our community about what's going on at Estacada High School, and we so greatly look forward to this conversation today. I want to introduce you officially to Principal Amy Hudson. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been at Estacada High School, and your experience so far.
My experience so far. Good evening. Thank you, community members and students, hopefully, out there joining us to learn more about our plans to celebrate the amazing class of 2022. Again, Amy Hudson, principal at the high school. This is my second year serving as principal at Estacada High School, my 6th year serving the Estacada community as a principal. Prior to coming to the high school, I served for 4 years at Clackamas River Elementary as the principal, and as always, a great experience. Love the community, love serving students and supporting staff and families every day.
And Amy Hudson has been a tremendous leader inside our school district. I've had the pleasure and opportunity to be her teammate while at Clackamas River Elementary School. She transformed this culture. She transformed Clackamas River Elementary into a high-performing elementary school with her team. She's taken on a new, great big challenge of taking on Estacada High School and really trying to close some of the learning gaps inside our school systems and transform a culture that continues to be a great place to work environment and foster a culture that meets the needs of our kids and community. And I think you would say if you're truly all in for Estacada Schools, which is why you're here today, you too have seen the positive changes that has come through Amy Hudson's leadership. So we're just so lucky to have her talents in our school district, and I'm so excited tonight to be able to allow her to engage our community as we talk about graduation and all things Estacada High School. So that being said, let's get to the show. What is our question of the day?
Are you a city person or a country person?
Well, that to me is a no-brainer. I am without a doubt a country person. However, I was born a city kid, born and raised in Gresham, Oregon. I went to Centennial High School in Gresham. Go Eagles, class of the year 2000. So born and raised in the city, but I could not wait to get out to the country as fast as humanly possible. I grew up hunting and fishing in Eastern Oregon with my family. I went to Eastern Oregon University to play baseball in La Grande, Oregon, which is where I fell in love with the country. I then went from La Grande, Oregon to John Day, which is even more country. But as my wife and I started to have children, we wanted to be close to our family. But the only caveat for me was that we needed to continue to live in a small town close to our parents. And we were so fortunate for Estacada to be willing to take me and my family, which was a little over 14 years ago now. So without a doubt, I am a country person, including my music selection, which is also country. Amy, what about you?
I am definitely a country person, and like you, Ryan, I grew up in Gresham, Oregon. Gresham High School, though, go Gophers. Definitely when I have the opportunity to spend time outside of work or home, it is somewhere outdoors. So hunting, fishing, camping, you name it.
Very cool. In fact, I think once you stayed the night while at Clackamas River while redoing your playground. I believe you slept in an RV trailer on campus. Is that true?
That is true. We were adding to our playground in conjunction with our PTC at Clackamas River, and I towed the trailer out and camped out under the covered area one night.
That's legitimate dedication to the Clackamas River Elementary School playground and being committed to the outdoors. So great job to you on that. So that being said, our most favorite part of the show, or at least my favorite part of the show, and that is fact or fiction. This is going to be the high school edition of Fact or Fiction because, believe it or not, people say things about the high school on social media as well. So what is that fact or fiction question today? Let's go to it. All right, so fact or fiction is always fun. We continue to just scour the World Wide Web of social media, be that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any other type of social media factor that deals with all things Estacada School District. And it's our opportunity, because we know these things get anonymously or not anonymously said about our school district, and some of it is true and some of it is not true, and we just see this as such a great opportunity to be able to address some things that are true or are not true when it comes to controversial topics. So here's one that our communications team selected today, and it says this: the high school is hiding negative statistics about freshman passing rates to avoid revealing them to the public. Now that is a juicy one, Principal Hudson. Tell us, is that fact or fiction?
That is definitely fiction. We let data drive our decisions, and we keep that in the forefront of all the decisions that we make. So definitely fiction. In fact, I'd be happy to share our ninth grade on track. As we know, our ninth grade on track is a great indicator of the success of our ninth graders in the years to come and walking across that stage. And so our current class of 2025 ended their first semester at Estacada High School with a freshman on track rate of 61.5%. And while that does sound a little low, that's great in comparison to years past. And we're continuing to push those numbers forward. Another fact, just because I'd like to share a little bit more against that fictional social media post, our freshman on track rate last year for our current sophomore class, so the class of 2024, they ended their ninth grade year at 48% on track. And they are now at the end of first semester at the high school as sophomores. That same cohort of students who were 48% on track were 61% on track at the end of their sophomore year. So even looking at that statistic from the freshman on track rate of 48% last year to our most recent at the end of first semester of 61.5% for our current freshmen is just a lot to celebrate. And we're happy to share this data with our community. We are really honest in the fact that we are a continuously improving system focused on student success and how we can improve all of the services that we provide our students.
Absolutely. So critical. Out of curiosity, do you recall what the graduation rate was from last year's graduating class?
Off the top of my head, thank you,
Yes.
no. We were the highest, though, we were right about 89%, if I recall correctly. And so definitely a lot to celebrate at the high school.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I bring that question up only because we did celebrate our highest graduation rate of the history of the Estacada School District. At that rate, but also it's important to note that, you know, even as our freshmen are potentially 48% on track, 61% on track, our teachers and support staff at Estacada High School go above and beyond to close the gap to make sure that our students are competitive and graduate ready once they finish their 12th grade year. And so, you know, as we celebrate high 80% graduation rate should be an indication to you that that gap continues to close throughout a child's experience here in the Estacada School District. And we're celebrating now graduation rates that your school district has never seen before. And it also celebrates just the fact that our hardworking staff members, our talented professional educators are doing the things that they need to do, utilizing data and their skill set to be able to close those gaps. But just to reiterate again about a continuous improvement, we have nothing to hide in terms of ninth grade statistics. We want to share all of that information because the responsibility is more than just Estacada High School to get our students to be successful. We need the entire community's support in order for us to educate the whole kid that comes through our process. And so I just commend Principal Hudson and her team because again, like she shared with you, during the COVID times, our current sophomore class, only 48% of them were on track to graduation. And now as sophomores, they're 61%. So we're already slowly but surely closing that gap, and that's quite impressive. It's not perfect by any means. We still have a lot of big time work to do with a group of kids and with each individual kid and with families as we work through that process together. But I am very pleased with our progress. I'm very pleased with what Principal Hudson is doing in terms of leading the vision to get all kids there. And our staff at Estacada High School is tremendous. So we are not hiding anything, and if our statistics do become negative, I hope that you will learn that it's our culture that we need to get that out in the open as soon as possible, because that would be our cry for help, that we need more community to support to help us educate our children. So I appreciate that comment on Facebook. Thank you for being bold and audacious to make such an accusation, and at the same time, you just learned the current event of how our current ninth graders are doing. And so I hope that helps satisfy the process. That being said, Fact or Fiction is here. Ooh, do we have a question or comment on Fact or Fiction?
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. We have some great, thoughtful follow-up questions on that I'm going to turn over to both of you. Our first question is, how is ninth grade on track calculated?
Right. So we actually look at it in two different ways at the high school. So Freshman on Track, which is our work that we do with the Center for High School Success, calculates nationally, actually, looks at how many credits a student leaves their freshman year with. So that is the big picture. That's what you see often reported in the media, is the Freshman on Track is based on a credit proficiency model. Also at the high school, we're monitoring every week, every day, but really every week, looking at our readiness indicators and looking at which of our students are passing at least 80% of their essential learning standards throughout their entire classes. So when we're looking at Freshmen on Track at an in-house type model, we're looking at a student as a whole. So we're looking at all 8 of their classes and looking at all of the essential learning standards that have been identified by their teachers as what we have guaranteed our students and families their students are going to be able, knowledge and skills that they're going to have at the end of a semester or a grade level. And we're measuring which one out of all of those essential learning standards that our students are at least 80% proficient, in those standards. And so for us, that's an in-house measurement. So there's a couple of different measurement tools that we're using and data that we're using to indicate student success, ninth grade and beyond. We actually have that success team model for all 4 grades at the high school.
Fantastic. Great job. Other questions?
Yeah, we have one more question. I know you covered it a little bit, but how many classes can a student fail and still be designated as on track?
Mm-hmm. Students need to pass their freshman year. They need to have 6 credits, 6 credits leaving their freshman year. So Oregon high school graduation requirement is 24 credits. And so we look to make sure that students have at least 6 leaving their freshman year to be on track. Most importantly, their freshman English class. So their Lit 9 class is a huge indicator of student graduation, on-time graduation indicator. And so we're really focused on not only students leaving as credit whole as they can, but especially in English and their other core classes at the freshman level. That's going to be their science, math, and English courses.
Yeah, and I think for those who are all in, as we talk about inside the weeds of why that English class is so important is because a high school student is required to have 4 years of English. And so to not pass their freshman year English already puts them behind the gun of the 4 required credits. Math needs 3. Yes. Science needs 3, and social studies needs 3. And so it is less critical in that freshman year because there's still opportunities. But that English one is so amazingly important to make sure we're on track to keep those kids there. But 6 credits, and we offer 8. So I think the answer to that question is a child does have the ability to fail 2 classes inside a year. And we think that is a great indicator for us to be able to identify kids that are going to need additional help and support in their sophomore, junior, and senior year. But I also think that it's important to understand that life happens even for our kids, and not all of our kids are dealt with the same great experiences. And so what I appreciate about this is this freshman on track allows us to monitor and track the progress, but it also at least is forgiving in the sense that some kids just aren't quite ready yet for that high school experience, or some kids are dealing with personal and or family circumstances that are completely undescribable. And I'm just so happy that our high school team and our district is able to work and support through kids who may have considerably different experiences as they encounter their high school life. And so there is forgiveness inside of that, and we greatly appreciate that. Are there other questions?
Yeah, we have one more really thoughtful question on this topic. Is you mentioned freshmen on track. Is the middle school preparing children for high school, and are there improvements that can be made before they get to high school? Principal Hudson.
Absolutely. I commend the work that our middle school entire team, the team at the middle school is doing under the direction of Principal Hargrave to ensure that all students are ready to leave the middle school and find high school success. As Superintendent Carpenter mentioned, all students are dealt with different experiences and different supports outside of school. And so I think that there's a lot of factors that are contributing to our students walking into the high school and being prepared to be successful. And it's our job at the high school and as a district to make those one-on-one connections with students and families to ensure that we're really truly understanding where students are at, what they need, and then thinking outside of the box sometimes on how we can support students to get across that stage in 4 years. So definitely the middle school is doing things to partner with us at the high school to be able to ensure students are ready for success.
Right, fantastic. And the middle school is such an important part of our team, and they've gotten so much better in terms of service and closing the gap in teacher and learning retention for our employees and students. For those of you who have been in our community for several decades would know that there were times Estacada Middle School was one of the weaker links inside our school district, and families would, unenroll their kids from the middle school and then enroll them back into high school. I've shaken the hands of so many parents who have been a part of that experience. And right now, I would say that Estacada High School is receiving kids from the middle school more prepared than ever before, which is only going to exponentially improve the experience that they're receiving at Estacada High School as well. So the future is bright for our kids, but at the same time, each kid is in a different place, in a different walk of life. And so to think of ourselves as a factory producing something that is consistent, I think is an unrealistic expectation. The fact that we have 61 sophomores on track is where we're at today. And our mission is to get them across the aisle as 12th graders. And so that work never ends, but it's going to be different for each kid. And that's the fun part of the challenge that we get to experience as professional public educators. So with that said, I think we'll pause on the other questions as they're coming in. Please continue to participate. What great questions so far for Principal Hudson. So excited for our dialogue after this. But we do need to get to hot topics because that's why we're here today. So take us to that section and let's talk graduation. So today's Facebook Live is really all about graduation and a big decision that we've had to make and announce effective yesterday about where we're going to place our graduation ceremony. So Principal Hudson, I'm going to kind of let you take the show here a little bit and talk about some big decisions and what it's going to look like. And then I'm so excited to be able to answer any questions, thoughts, opinions as we work through this change together as a team. So take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we first understand change is hard, right? And our community, I think one of the great things about our community is traditions and that community involvement in our schools. So we are excited to face the challenge of moving graduation when we were looking through some options, our guiding decision makers was really keeping graduation local. We wanted it to be a local community event, as it always has been. And it was really important that we were able to find a venue space that allowed students and families to not have a limit on how many people that they could bring to enjoy this celebration with them. Especially in the couple of years past, we've had to limit due to COVID, the participation in person. And so we're really excited to be able to provide this opportunity. So graduation is still happening. We're excited about it. It's June 11th at 7:00 p.m., which has not changed since the beginning of the school year. However, the location is changing. So we are holding graduation. We are going to essentially recreate a stadium-like atmosphere in the back athletic facility at the high school. So if you think about where the track is and inside the track being a stadium, we are working hard to get all of those logistics figured out so that we will have bleacher stadium-style seating. So visibility will be optimal for everyone that's in attendance. We do have stadium seating that's going to hold about 1,100 people. In addition, we'll have chair seating as well. And then also being able to, like I said, not limit how many folks can attend. I know that we have some families that are really large and a lot of people that are there to support their students. And then a more recent tradition that the high school has brought is fireworks after the ceremony. And so we're still going to have that opportunity for families just to get together and continue the celebration after the crossing of the stage and the tassels. And then we'll live stream the event as well. So again, I think one of the positives of the pandemic is that we have had the opportunity now to kind of broaden our reach. And so when we have family far that can't make it, it's live streamed. And so really looking forward to be able to still provide a great experience for our graduates and their families.
Yeah, very good. So we know that many families obviously are used to the traditions of our graduation, inside that stadium. But unfortunately, we were optimistic at the beginning of our turf field project that we'd be able to have this project completed prior to graduation. But as you can notice, as you look outside, the weather has been completely uncooperative, allowing us not to be able to do the earth removal that's required. It's just too wet. And so we're waiting for things to draw out. out, and I commend Principal Hudson and her team, and obviously her work with the kids as they've tried to create a successful alternative site, but yet to create just as great of experience for our kids in that graduation. And so, I know that graduation has many traditions like SAFE Act and senior assembly and grad walks and just some of those other cool things that make Estacada graduation an Estacada graduation. Are those things going to be leaving since we're changing this alternative site to this alternative site?
No, great question. Definitely not. In fact, this week our families of our seniors are going to receive correspondence about the laundry list of celebrations that we have planned for our graduates. So we are definitely going to continue the tradition of the grad walk and our baccalaureate night, senior breakfast, graduation practice, our senior recognition assembly. All of those things are still our long-standing traditions that we value and look forward to providing for our class of 2022.
Yeah, amen to that. And again, we know those things are so important, and they're so important to the families who are experiencing it at the time, and we completely understand that. And I think it's important to recognize that over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, we've had to make significant changes to graduation. During the COVID pandemic, we had to do a very innovative way of live streaming the event, of only allowing the family, if you'll remember this, into the stadium while their kid walked across the stage. And each and every time, Estacada High School has had to make an adjustment with an effort to make it just as special. This team has exceeded each and every time. In fact, after every graduation over the last 2 or 3 years, and we've had to do something significantly different, parents have come up to us and said, that was awesome. We should do this from now on as a tradition. And so we understand the traditions of this community. We hope our community will understand that sometimes we need to make changes based on circumstances that are out of our control. This one is in our control. We have made the decision to upgrade our playing facility inside that stadium. And I'm just so proud of our high school team who yet again is going above and beyond to ensure that this experience is going to be just as great. I think some of the differences might be, and I say this in joking fashion because it's usually so hot in graduation and our families get that green stadium goo on their pants while watching that. And so I'm hopeful this year that there will be no green stadium goo as people sit in new bleachers to be able to watch that. So I think, Maggie, at this point, since that probably was not that funny of a joke, let's go to our questions and comments.
Thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. Our first question right now, a thoughtful logistical question about graduation. Is there going to be access for parking for people with disabilities with that location behind the high school track?
Yes, absolutely. Logistics is the name of the game right now, actually. So when we think about putting on a large scale event, logistics is definitely important. So we are planning for accessibility for all of our guests, including parking. And so we're still ironing out those details, but that's definitely one of our priorities, and information will be shared as we get that ironed out. But parking and accessibility for all will be on the list.
All right. Thank you, Principal Hudson. Our next question I will field to Superintendent Carpenter. As we talk about the turf field, we have so many great community supporters helping us out with this. If we come under budget on that turf field, could we potentially use some of that to turf the infield or provide an all-weather field for our PE classes?
After graduation.
After graduation, yes. Those are conversations that we have been having informally with different pockets of groups that I've encountered in terms of how can we continue the momentum of upgrading our facilities. I think there is a couple things that we do need to recognize is the whole point of us trying to draw in as many community volunteers and as many companies to donate these items funds is because we want to come in under budget. We know that $2 million is a real expense, especially for a school district our size. We believe it is absolutely necessary to make this improvement onto that turf field, but we think that we will gain favor from our community if we truly can do this for as little expense possible. And so I do anticipate and I do intend to finish this project under the $2 million budget. But I think we also do need to have conversations about, even though we are saving money, since we're saving money, is there anything else that we want to try to tackle with these additional funds? One example of a decision that we've already made is our determination to completely replace the stadium lighting inside the football stadium. For those of you who don't know, about 40 years ago, PGE was gracious enough to donate the power poles that went on there, and we used some very old lighting to go on top of those power poles. So we have very old stadium lighting that takes about 30 minutes to warm up. Occasionally we'll have some type of situation, be that a power outage or some kid accidentally hits the switch, and the whole stadium has to wait 30 minutes for the lights to power back on. Because we've been able to save so much money due to community volunteers, we have already made the decision to switch to LED lighting at the stadium, so they'll just turn on with a light switch. In fact, we'll now have the capability to turn the stadium lights on with our phone. It will also save the district a considerable amount of money, moving from the 40-year-old huge wattage lights to LED lights. So we actually think over time these lights are going to ultimately pay for themselves. And the other reason, long-winded here I know, but the other reason why this is an important decision is because back in the days when it was a grass field, we could really only use the field for varsity athletics, which really hampered us to 3 or 4 events a week. And so the usage of those high voltage watts was considerably limited. We expect to use this turf field 7 days a week until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, which is going to require lights 7 days a week as well. So our ability to make this investment in LED lights because we're coming in under budget is an example of how we're trying to fiscally responsibly utilize these funds. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. That's an interesting explanation and another fun upgrade to look forward to. We don't have any more questions. We do have one comment that says they appreciate the time change, so we appreciate that feedback. We're always looking to be more available to the public, and with that, I'll let you take it away.
Well, thank you very much, and I too just want to say thank you to Principal Hudson, and maybe before I close with my last words, give you an opportunity if you'd like to address our community about graduation and our high school, and just let you have the opportunity to address them.
Great. Well, as always, I'm just really thankful to be able to serve this community in the way that I do. But more importantly, looking forward to celebrating the hard work and dedication of our class of 22, not only the students, families, and our staff. And as things come up, questions come up, please reach out to me. I would be more than happy to have conversations, answer questions, hear your ideas. Definitely there's things that we may not think of, and so I appreciate your thoughtfulness as well as we work together as a community to really celebrate the success of our students. So thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us tonight, and please reach out if there's anything that comes up.
And I hope that you can see that we have an exceptional leadership team right now inside the Estacada School District. Principal Hudson and her fellow principal teams are taking on very complex challenges that other school districts are experiencing statewide. And I'm just so proud of how they're working together as a team, working with the community and the parents of their schools to overcome those complex changes together. And again, I just want to thank you so much for being a part of this All In Live for Estacada Schools. You truly are all in by watching this, and I just hope that you'll be able to take the conversation that we're having from these very important conversations and sharing them with your circles as we try to make our school district that best school district, a premier school district. And so thank you so much. We know it's late in the evening. We just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of our family as we engage together to make the Estacada School District the best it can be. Have a great night, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.